Hi, welcome to the second episode of Live Coding with me. In our previous session, we actually built a dashboard app that allows our users to browse through all the tutorials that I have. But in the previous tutorial, we know that there's only 2 videos that I have managed to put in the dataset. So in today's tutorial, I would want to scrap all the videos currently in my channel so that I don't have to do the manual copy and pasting stuff. And for the future videos, the updating will be easier with the script written. So without further ado, let's get started. So in today's tutorial, we're going to use Google Colab to do all the web scraping stuff, which is not very common because usually people would just install stuff on the local computer and start the scrapping. But the reason why I choose to go for Google Colab, which is a cloud environment, instead of a local environment is because as a beginner in Python, I always feel that installing all the stuff and configuring the directory and the path is very it kind of hinders me from coding more. So in today's tutorial, I want to minimize the friction. So I want to make it possible for you to just have this playbook that I have in the screen right now, and all the installation would be done once you just run the script. So without further ado, let's get started. First step first, we're going to do some installations. So in order to do scrapping with Google Colab, you actually need to install 2 things. One is the Selenium Python library, and the second one is the WebDriver. So the Python libraries aside, we're going to use like all these common libraries in Python like Selenium, BS4, which is BeautifulSoup, and then pandas, which is very important for like data transformation and data cleaning. And we also need the datetime for some minimal stuff in the end. And then we also need the Google Colab in order to do something with the output of the web scraping. So I also included some of the information here for you to read if you would like to understand more. And yep, to get started, you can actually just expand this arrow here to expand the code. So what you can do is to click this arrow here to run this cell, and you can see that there's this thing like turning around. So it means that it's currently running. And now there will be some output being generated at this area down below this code. So these are just some things in the background that they're installing for us. And also note that here I'm using an exclamation mark because in Colab you will need to indicate that this is a command instead of like the Python code. So that's how we install the package. In case you need to install other packages, you'll know that you'll have to add this because usually they won't tell you in the manual. And the second thing is to install the WebDriver. As you can see here in the comments here that are written that Google Colab was upgraded and the Ubuntu 20.04 version has no longer distributes the Chromium browser outside of Snap package. Snap package is something that we used to install the Chromium back then. So you can install a compatible version from Debian Booster repo. So these are the entire code that we can use to install that. But I'm not very familiar of how this works. But I just know that once you have this script, it should work because it's installing a WebDriver for us that is currently compatible with this Google Colab. Now you can actually run this so that it can help you to install stuff. The next part is actually to import the Python libraries that we're going to use at the later steps. So you can just hit this arrow to run, or you can use a shortcut key, Control Enter or Command Enter, depending on your OS. For me, I'm using Mac, so I will use Command Enter. You can use Control Enter if you're using Windows. So now I just wait for it to run, and I would prefer to just keep this because I no longer need this. So I just toggle this so that it keeps here the 3 cells. And then we're going to initialize our WebDriver. So WebDriver is actually a tool that can help us to automate the web browser. So usually when we try to open a web browser, we go to the icon and we double click to open it. But because we are doing the web scraping, we don't want to do the manual work of like clicking it. So we're using this WebDriver to help us achieve that. Not only that it is useful to help us initiate the web browser, but it will also help us to perform some other stuff, like if you want to fill up the form or like fill up your username, password, or you want to scroll down the page, it can all be done with a WebDriver. Before we start, we need to configure some stuff. First, we need to initiate a Chrome options. You don't really need to know what it is, but just know that it just gives us a chance to add these arguments to our WebDriver so that it's headless, means it runs without the user interface. And then there's no sandbox. This is to disable the sandbox so that it can avoid the permission issue. And we also want to set the language to English. Once that is done, you can have this WebDriver created along with the Chrome options that we have just defined here. That's just for the setup part. And the third step is actually to start scraping the website. So if you want to know if all the setup above it's being done correctly, I would suggest you to run this cell. Oops, I think I forgot to run this. So I'm just running this, and I can run this again. If it's successful, then you will see some output, HTML output in this area. So just give it some time to run. Here I'm actually using a Google Chrome, So here I'm actually using a Google homepage to test it. You can replace it with other web address if you would like to try it out. It's taking a while, so it's taking forever to run. I think it's taking too long to run. Let me just terminate it and run it again. Oh, it's done in 1 second. Now let's run the second one, which is to test the driver. So you can see that now we have like a HTML document in this output area. That means it's configured correctly. Now we can start scraping the videos from the collection page. So what I mean by collection page is actually this videos tab. And under this videos tab, we have all the videos listed. which is mainly the long form one because the short form will be in the shorts page. So just some information for you to know. The first thing we need to do to scrap the website, if I can go to youtube.com and I can go to my own page. This is my channel page by default. If I put in my URL handle, and if you navigate to videos, you can get this URL. So what I will do is just to copy this entire URL, and now in the code I can type the WebDriver, which is what we have initiated up there, .get. So this is to get means .get means that this is to navigate to this address. So just paste here and we can run this script. And now I can add another code to, you can continue if you want, but I like to just split them out so that later if I need to debug or rearrange my code, it will be easier. Then the next thing is actually to scrap this page. So to get the page, you can actually use page source. So this would print the entire thing here in the HTML format. Now I want to assign this to a variable so that I can save this HTML document in a variable. Once I do that, I can run the code, and then I'll also want to add another code. And so after we have added this HTML to a variable, now we can use BeautifulSoup library to parse the HTML. But before that, we will need to examine the HTML code and see where is the video link and title that we need. So if you look at here, we can actually right click and select inspect. So after you inspect, you can see where is the code. So for this one, it's actually a tag, which is usually used for links. And you can see the ID here is video title link. And here we actually have the title of the video, which is under this area label attribute. And we also have the title another time at this title attribute. And we have a href link. This is a link to the YouTube videos. So this is what we want to get from this page for every one of this video. So right now what we can do is to turn off this a tag and ID, because that's what we need to scrap the video titles and links. So let's put this aside and work on the code first. So as mentioned, we are going to use BeautifulSoup to read or parse the HTML. So we're going to have the HTML that we save our HTML code in as the first parameter, and then followed by a parser so they can read the HTML. And then we're going to assign it to a variable called soup. After that, we're going to use a method called findAll. So this means that we're telling BeautifulSoup to find all the a tags for us with the ID equals to not equals to, is you should use this symbol, and then we're going to key in the ID that we just got, which is, you can double click and copy it, which is video title link. So once it's managed to find us this data that we need, going to save it under what should we call it, a text. Then I want to print the a text to see what they found. So you can see that we have the a tag, and then we have the title, we have everything that we just saw inside here. Now, after we have find all the tags for a tags and with the ID video title link, now it's time to look through everything in the a tags to see what's in it. Now, in order to find out what we have in this a tags, we actually have to look through it using a for loop. So right now I'm getting the count of the number of elements in this a tags that we found, and I'm going to generate a list of numbers based on the number of elements. So this is what I would do first. To print all the elements that I found, and you can see that these are all our videos that we want, and you can see that the href attribute got the link that we need, and the title attribute got the title that we need. So to do that, I would actually do the for loop again, but this time I would want to get the value in the attribute. So how do we get the value in the attribute? It's by using this. First, we type the name of this variable that we got, and then I can have the first row, which is this one here. But now I would just want to have the href value. So you can see that once I print that, sorry, I should comment this out first. And this. So you can see that when I print this, I got the link to the YouTube video. So since this is how we can extract the elements or the values, then I can use a for loop. Then I can use a for loop to extract it. So instead of this, now we're going to look through it. We can have a tag. So I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to print it so you will see all the values that we can get. And now you can see that there is a key error written here, which means that there's no a tag href attribute found in the a tag with video title link as the ID. So I'm going to just ignore that first, because there's one more thing that we will need to extract out from here, which is the title. So I'm going to run this again, and again we'll see an error because it's something that we will need to resolve later. Okay, so this line can be deleted. And you can see that I have the title and the video link now. Next, we actually need to have a condition to skip this part, to extract it whenever we don't have the attribute. So I'm going to have if statement here. If the A tag has the attribute of this href and they have the attribute of title, we're going to do this too, otherwise we're going to skip it. So now we can just run this code and see if we still encountered error. So you can see that now we no longer have the error because now we has an if condition to check before we extract it. So now I will actually want to put this value into a list so that later we can combine them and form our data set. So instead of print statement, now you will need to add this to a variable. So that's how I would do. And before we do that, I would want to create two lists. One is for one is for the links, and another is for the titles. So whenever we extracted this value, we assign to href value, and then we want to save it to this list. So we can use list.append, and we can append this value inside. Same for the titles, we are going to append it to the list that we created. And now we can do this, run the script, and next thing I will actually want to combine them so that I can see it clearly. So here I'm going to use the pandas library, which is very famous in data science. So here I can just define that I'm going to put in the single quotes and put in the title. So this is the list that we have up here, and comma, we can add the second variable, which is links, and here I can put links. And now I'm going to save it to a variable. Then I'm going to print the head so that I can see the first few data in this data frame. So you can see that this is the data that we got. But one thing that I haven't highlighted to you is that this only extracts the first page that we load. So if I can add a numbering here for you, print the title value for you, and you can see that integer. Okay, because it's an integer, so we have to add the string function to cast it to a string. So you can see that we have 30 videos scrapped, but in actual my channel actually has more than that. I can show you. So if you scroll to the bottom, you can see that it's continued to load more and more videos. But when you first landed on this page, it wouldn't load at the entire list of videos. It will only load after you have reached the bottom of the page, and it will load again. After you reach the bottom of the page, it will load again. So what we need to do now is to scroll the page when we open the page here. So using Selenium, we can actually do that. To scroll a page, we can use the execute script method in Selenium, and we can pass in this value window scroll by 600,000. Okay, so this 6,000 is actually the pixels that we scroll, and we can use while loop to execute this. And if the scrolls equals to 5, we want to break it. So here I'm going to print the number of scroll. First, I actually need to initiate first. The scroll is 0 at first. And when we run the script, for the first time, it's going to add one to scroll for every time we run the script, so that it will keep the count for us. And when the scroll is 5, we're going to break this. Means we're going to stop this loop. So now let's run this. And after we run this, we would actually want to get the HTML again. And then run the below code again. And here now we should get more than 30 videos. Yeah, you can see that once we scroll down, you can actually get up to 60, which is still not enough. But we actually scroll like several times, 5 times. So the problem here is actually the wait time. So we have to wait for the videos to load before we extract out the page. So here I would actually add the wait time. As 5 seconds. Let me see if we have imported this library here. Where am I? Expand data import. So to use that function, we will need to import time library. So I'm going to run this again, and then you can scroll down, and now I should be able to run this script. So it might take longer time because now we have added this time sleep, which means it's going to wait for 5 seconds before it will run this again. So now it has gone through 5 scroll, and now I can run the script again. And now I should get more than that. So in my channel, I actually have 64 videos, long videos. So if you count one row, we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16 times 4, it's 64. So now we have gotten all our videos, and we can now proceed to this part. And just for the sake of checking, I would actually put in 100 in my head. So now it can show me there is 64 rows, 2 columns. Okay, it's the same as this, just that I would want to check like how many rows are there in this data set after we have rerun the script. So yeah, now we have this table done. The next part is actually to scrap the video metadata from the watch page. So in order to do that, we actually need to use the links that we extracted in the second part of this chapter, which is this watch link. But if you notice, it cannot reach anywhere if you just use this link. You will have to add youtube.com. They already have slash, so you don't have to add. So you have to just add youtube.com in front of that. youtube.com. Yeah. So this is what you will have to do if you want to direct it to the correct video. So before we proceed, I would actually do some transformation, just a minor one. I would get the links of this data frame, and I would combine it with another string, which is https youtube.com, entire thing here. So now I have just pasted the link that I gotten from YouTube, and now I can actually assign it back to this column. So I can just rerun this, and I would want to know what is the output there. So what I will do is to print the data frame again. So now you can see that I accidentally added this extra slash here. So I'm going to rerun this part from here and here. So now you can see that we have the links, and if I copy this and paste it here, it should give us the correct link to my videos. So yeah, that's correct. And we can now proceed to the next chapter, which is to scrap the metadata from the video's word page. Mainly, we'll be extracting the video description and the views count for each of the videos. So first thing, we're going to look through the data that we have. We have a total of 64 rows, but I don't want to hard code it, so this is how we can do it. We calculate the number of elements inside this column, and from there we generate a list of numbers, which is using range. Then we can start to get the link from the data set. So I'm going to use I as a representation for the index. Before I proceed, we'll have to look at this link that we just used to direct to this video. You can see that it's a dynamic website, means that there are some of the elements not shown yet in this browser. So let's see if the information we need are currently displayed in this browser. First thing we need is the video description. As you can see, we can only see the very top of the description. And if we want to see more, we have to click on this show more to look at the rest of the description. As for the views, it's already shown in the landing page before we click anything. So the views would be the easier one, whereas for the description, we actually need a way to click that show more button to show us all this description. So we actually need a way to click that show more button so we can see the entire description. To do that, I'll have to refresh the page again, and this time, instead of clicking this show more button, you actually want to right click and click inspect. And this, when you hover on this part that is being highlighted, let me just pause this video. When you hover on this, you should see that the highlighter on the left is showing on show more button. Okay, so here what we would actually need to do is to copy this full XPath and come to here. Now I'm going to use the find element method to find this show more button using the XPath. So you can see that just now I right click and copy the full XPath, and now what I can do is to paste it here. Let me just move this a bit. Okay, and this, I have a typo here. This should be capital letter by B, it should be capitalized, and followed by Y dot XPath. XPath is also capitalized. And now I can assign this to a variable. It's called show more button. And then I can use another method to click it. So now if I run this, It's links. Sorry, another typo. Run this. Oops, another typo. It says that the element is not interactable. I forgot to go to that website. Should put it in here. And this should be the link. This is navigate to watch page. And then this is like finding the button, and then this is like clicking the button. So now let's try our luck again. No such element, unable to locate the element. I think it's because it's too fast. So we need to have some waiting time. Maybe let's give it 3 seconds. Okay, I think it's time to stop because it's been going too many rounds. Maybe I should. So instead of looping everything at the moment, because we're still developing the code, I would just put like 1 page. It's getting too long for the browser to work, so I have to rerun the one that we initiate the web driver. So you can see now, after we have reinitiate the web driver and run the code here, it actually works. So just remember to rerun your code in this part, step 2, to initiate your web driver again if you see that error earlier. So now what we will need to do is to get the page source so we can see what we got there. Maybe I'll just print this here. It's not very obvious, right? Okay, now similar to what we did up there, I would actually assign it to a variable called HTML, and same thing, I'll just ask BeautifulSoup to help us read the HTML for us. HTML.parser, and this is going to call as soup. Then we can actually use the HTML to select one of the code for us. Just once this is show more, and now I would want to inspect this. So you can see that this is a span. This is splitted into a couple of span, and okay, so this is what I need. So what I'll do is to copy this class right here, and I'll paste it here and select one. Now I'm going to run this, see what I got. Let's print this. It's none. Now here I can right click and click copy selector and paste it here. Oh, it's working. Okay, so now I actually got this extracted. So I'm going to assign it to like a variable first. Then now in the line, you can still see that there are some text here and there, which I don't want to see it. So I can actually use this dot text to extract only the text, the displayed text, and I want to remove all the HTML text from the value. So let's print it and see if that's what we expected it to be. So you can see that now all the text are missing from the output value. So now it's safe to send this value to this variable called description. So yeah. And now I would actually want to move this code inside this loop because it's supposed to loop through for every single URL. So I'm just pasting them into here. Now we have gotten the description text. The next thing I would want to work on is the views count and the posted date. Okay, so before I proceed, we would need a list to save our description information. So here I would just say initiate list, and the first list I would want to create, sorry, I got to do this just to make things consistent. I would add the description value down there, and so this description is for the list. And remember, we also need one for views count and the posted date. Okay, so if initiating all the lists that we need. So now for the description values, I would just do it first. Pen description value. So now if I run this and if I print this stuff, it's going to give me all the description. Oh, okay, it's a typo here, so it doesn't append to the list, but it's actually using the previous string to append, so that's why the error. So I have to rerun this and wait for it to get me thing that I need. Okay, so now I would do some cleaning up for the script. Later we'll have to do it for views and posted date. Okay, so for views and posted date is rather straightforward. We can just inspect it from here. And you can see that if I want to get the entire thing, I can actually just grab this info ID from here. So here I can actually say soup.find all, and I want to find the tag called YT formatted string, and for the ID I can define it as info. So there's the code in order to find me all the metadata that I need, including the hashtags. But in this tutorial, we're not going to extract the hashtags, just the views and the posted date. Now, once I got that, I would actually just loop through what I have in the metadata. Let's call it metadata item, and we will get the metadata. I find all this. We are going to find all the spans inside this YT formatted string. So here, just find span. Oops, I forgot to print. Print metadata item. Oh, connection refused. So we'll have to rerun the driver. And then scroll down, run this again. You can see that in this span that we found, we can have the views here, and we also have the date here. So now we actually can, because the position of the views is at the first one, so I can actually do this to get the first element, and I can actually print out this is second and this is third for the date. So I'm not sure if you can see like how we find the elements, like it's being separated by the comma. So before the comma is the first one, and this is the second one up until this one that we see the comma, and the third one is the date. So we can do this. Let's wait for it to run again, and we shall see if we got what we need. Okay, so now we have gotten these two, which is the views and the date. Now what we need to do is to get the text only. Remember, just now we are using the dot text to help us get the displayed text and remove all this HTML text. So now I will just add dot text in the print statement. So now we can see again what we get as the output. Once that's okay, then we can add that into a variable and also add that variable into our list. So this is what we get. After that, we can just assign it to, let's say, this is view count value. This is our posted date value. So right after we got this, then we can add them into our list. Dot append to add the value into a list. And for posted date, okay, extra Okay. Typo. All right. Now I can run this and see if it works. Okay, if this works, then the next thing we're going to do is to combine them under one data frame. So you can use the pandas again to combine them. Still remember the syntax to combine single list into the data frame. So this we can actually use the df link and then followed by the description. This is the description list, and then the views count. This is the views count, and we also have a posted date. This is the posted date. So right after we did that, remember to print the data frame. What is the error? Now we just added two lists. Still doesn't work. Why? Let me just remove this part and see if it works. It works. Okay. So this is the problem. I guess the best way to resolve this is to add a linked list. So I'm going to add this now. And then here we can have the link value to append to the linked list. And then we can have this to run again and this to run again. Forgot to change this. All right, so now we have this started out. And remember just now because for the efficiency, we just use one example to test our code. So now you can uncomment this and comment this. Now we can loop through everything in the 64 videos and get the data set out. Oops, run the wrong thing. So I should initialize first and then run that code again because it's been running for too long. And I just want to have the count so I know in case something is wrong, I can still investigate using the output that I print out here. So please give it some time. We are coming to the end of this tutorial actually. still have some more processing to do for our data that we have collected, and then we have to combine the data for both of the data sets that we got. And then lastly, we're just going to do a simple sort and just export it to CSV file. So just bear with me for a few more minutes. So I was rerunning the script and I actually found this error when I'm trying to rerun it, which this doesn't happen previously when I run the script. So to fix this, I would have to add a s-type string to make sure that this can be done as we did previously. Seems like something is wrong up there, so I'm going to run again. Now we have all the videos being scrapped and put into a data frame like this. Now we'll have to do some cleaning up so that our data is ready to use for our database. So here we're going to use the library pandas to clean up the data. The library has already been imported at the beginning of this tutorial, which you can find here under the third cell, which is here. So now we can start to use it in our code. So here we're going to start with modifying the views count, because now the views count actually contains some text. I would want to have just the numbers only. What we can do is to remove the views from the views count. So I can just write the F2 and then pull out the views count. And then here we're going to use .string.replace to replace the views text in characters in this cell for every row. And remember to put in the space and before the word views, because that's what contains in the value here. So we're going to move on. Then when we replace, this is going to replace by the second parameter that you define. In this case is nothing, so you can use 2 single quotes to indicate that. Then we want to assign this value back to the same columns, which is views count. So once you hit this, it's going to override the value. You can add another code to check the value and see if it's being removed from the views count. So now you can see that in the views count, we only have the numbers in it. Next, we will want to remove some of the redundant text in the description. So I'm going to pull out one of the descriptions so that you can see it clearly. What do I mean? So I'm going to print this statement, and you can see that not all the text is describing the video, because I have put some other links that is repeating for every one of my videos, so that's not very useful to put in our library dashboard, so we're going to remove that. To do that, I would just pull out this text here, because I'll assume that everything under here is actually repeating. So right now I can use a function called .string.split. Just now we're using replace, now we're going to use split. And we're going to do, let me just remove the print statement. going to put in this text over here, and then we're going to use expand is true. So when I print this, you will get string object has no attribute string. Oh, okay. So I should actually remove this. So you can see that when I do this, the entire statement has been split into two using this text over here. So you can no longer see the text here, but you can still see the consequences text in this. You can no longer see this inside the values in both columns. Okay, so when we run this, it will actually create two columns. One is the text right before this string that we indicate here as the split delimiter, and the second column is what's after this string. So ideally, we would just want to get the first column because that's what we need. So what we can do here is to use this index to pull out just the first column. So now you can see that only contains one column. And now if we assign it back to the same column, and we can now print out the description. You can see that it's exactly what we want, but I would actually still need to do some manual cleaning up for this in my future updates, because I think this can still be shortened and so that it can give more precise description of my video tutorials. So for now, I think this is good enough. Oh, I think I just did it in the wrong place. Okay, never mind. So you can see that I actually have some blocks here. So sorry that I forgot about this. So right now I would just like move it up to the place there. Okay. And these two, I can actually delete them. Last but not least, we want to merge the data frame. So before this, we actually have the first data frame, which is containing the video links and the video title, just here. This is assigned to df, and then we have the second data set, which is what we have just cleaned up. So right now I would just merge them together using the function merge. So I will just use df and then merge with df2. And now we have to define a link, a key that's going to link them together. So this has to be the common column that we can find in both data frame. In this case, it would be the link. And because the first data set that we have, we are using the word links, and the second we are using the word link, so we couldn't have the common common key defined here. So what I would do as a quick fix is to just change the title of change the header name, and now I can get link. So now we can use it here. So this is the common column name for both of the data sets that we want to merge. Then we're going to define how we're going to merge it. In this case, we're going to use a left merge. And now we can assign this to, let's say it's a merge df. So I name it as merge df, and I can proceed to print it. So here you can see that the title, the link, descriptions, views count, and posted date has been combined in one single table. Now, before we export, I will also want to merge them because in the future, I may just want to update the new videos that's recently posted. So it will be a great idea to sort them by the posted date in descending order. So now let's use the merge df, then sort the values by the column posted date. So you can see that now, because the posted date is a string instead of a date, it's actually sorted it incorrectly. So now we will need to read this posted date from string to date. In pandas, we actually have a very simple formula called toDateTime that could be used to convert this string date into a date format. So I'm going to do that now. So pd toDateTime, and we are going to put in the posted date here, and now I'll print this and see what is the posted date. Sorry, it's merge df. Okay, unknown string format, premiered August 12, 2022. So it seems like we have faced some issue here to cast the date. So I'm going to use another library called dateutil to parse the date first. So right now I can just put the parse postdf posted date, and I'm going to comment this out so that I can see if this is okay. Oh, sorry, again, it's merge df. The parser must be a string or character string, not series. Okay. So now, because the function here can only be used for a single item, so I will have to use a for loop to loop through everything. Merge df posted date, and then I'm going to do for parse I, and this is the date, and then I want to add them into a list. That's all. And I can print out the list after this is done. Premium. Oh, let me just print out the text. I see. Okay. Sorry that I misunderstood. I think previously this text is being added into the list here, so we'll have to actually just clean up them as well. So let me just add another code here. This would be remove irrelevant text from posted date. And I will add a code, and this would be to remove the word premiered from this column. So we can use the F2 posted dates dot string dot replace, and we can put in this text we found here and replace it with a empty value and assign it back to the posted date column. And now I can run, it's this, run this script and run the second one. Oops, because of the typo just now, I accidentally added this over there. So I'll have to rerun the df here so that we can remove that extra column from the data. Here, run again. Title, link, description, views, count, posted date. Okay, and now I will just comment this out first because I was misunderstanding just now. So I'm going to use the to date time to try to read this date first. Seems that it's okay-ish. And now I can assign it back to the merge df posted date. Now I can remove all this thing that I just written there. And now I can merge them. Now I can sort them. You can see that the posted date has been sorted from the first day that which I posted a video on YouTube and up until 2 years later, which is my latest video here. So yeah, that's what I want to do, and the final one would be on exporting this entire data set to a CSV file. There are a couple of methods where you can export this. You can export it to Google Sheets, or you can export it to a CSV file or Excel files and so on. But here I just want to keep it simple and export them to CSV file. Here I'm going to start by defining the file name. I would just say YouTube export and .csv. Should use single quotes. CSV, and now I can export this using a function in Panda to CSV, And now you can see I pass in the file name. You can also write this file name directly here in this part, but I would just want to do this because later on we are going to do some processing on the file name. Now we can use Google Cloud function, Google Cloud method. Now we can use Google Cloud method to download the file. Okay, when I run this, you can see that this has been downloading, and you can see that this file is being exported, and you can see that this is the data that we got. But because we are going to run this for a few times in the future, I wouldn't want the file name to be in this form. I want to add a date of export into the file name here because I want to be able to tell when this data was exported. So what I would do is to get a datetime function to get today's date. So I'm going to do today equals to date today. So this is going to give me, let me just use another code so that I don't have to download the data set every time when I run the script. And if I print today, you can see the date that I'm currently at, which is 9 May. And now I'm going to just get the date only. I don't want the timestamps. And how I can format them is to use this function, string format time, and I can use the string literals to define the date. So this is the date that I got. Let's print it out. So this is the one that I want. Then now I'm going to add this into here in the file name. So I'm going to break this up and use add. Here I cannot use this because it's going to be dynamic, so I have to use the variable here, put it here, and last we're going to add .csv. Okay, move this up and I can print the file name here. Okay, now you can see that in the file name you can see the date where the data was being exported. And now we are safe to download the file again, and you can see that the file name has been updated. And now this data set is being exported. So that's all that I want to cover in today's tutorial. I'm sorry that I can't cover every single detail of how each function works because the main purpose is to have you try to build a project so that you have the confidence to carry out such project on your own in the future to build your portfolio or to learn more knowledge about data science. So I hope this video is helpful to give you some exposure on how you can do the web scraping with free tools like Python and Google Colab. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'll try my best to answer them. And if you're a member, don't forget that you have these resources of the entire script in my membership portal available for you, so don't forget to get that. And if you haven't joined my membership, it's okay. I know it's not for everyone, but just want to let you know that now we have 50% off for your entire lifetime with my membership. So if you're interested, don't forget to get that because the promo will be ending at the end of this month. So yeah, hope you enjoy this tutorial and see you soon. Bye bye.